Since 1887, people in and around Wexford County, Michigan, have described seeing something that should not exist, according to science, but the sheer amount of eyewitness accounts say otherwise. The creature is said to be a powerful animal, standing around 7 feet tall with the build of a bear and the head of a wolf. It has been reported as both running upright and on all fours at a very fast pace. With a loud howl that strikes fear into the hardiest of outdoorsmen, the Michigan Dogman is a fearsome beast. In 1961, a security guard was working the night shift at a large manufacturing plant in Big Rapids, Michigan. The plant was located on the edge of a giant area of dense forest and brushland, known as the Haymarsh. As part of his duties, the guard would walk the perimeter fence at night and was used to hearing all kinds of animals on the other side, including coyotes, but on this night, he encountered something very different. At around 3 in the morning, the guard saw something move behind the chain link fence, at the rear of the property. Given the time, he suspected it was a break-in and drew his gun, but as he watched the area where he first saw the movement, something emerged and it was certainly not a man. The creature had broad shoulders and a powerful body. It was covered in brown fur and seemed to alternate between walking on all fours and upright. It then moved along the fence and into the Haymarsh on all fours. From that night on, the security guard always carried a high-powered rifle with him after dark. In 1993, just outside of Reed City, Michigan, a 13-year-old girl named Courtney decided to sneak out of her house for a cigarette. There was an old barn behind her home, so she walked quietly towards it when something spooked her. From the gaps between the beams of wood at the front of the building, she could make out something large, pacing back and forwards. Initially, she thought it was a deer or a cow, but as she got closer, she could see a little more and realized that this was no animal that she'd seen before. It had a terrifying wolf-like face, and she ran off, screaming. Later that evening, Courtney and her family learned that the neighbors had reported seeing a strange animal lurking around. They described it as being a dog the size of a buffalo. In the fall of 2009, Rhonda, who was a resident of Three Lakes, Michigan, had a dogman encounter whilst traveling with her son. An enormous wolf-like beast suddenly ran across the highway at Tioga Creek, startling her. She said, "We were very puzzled and thought it might be some mutant wolf and could not figure out what we witnessed," then went on to say the beast ran fairly fast, about 50 feet in front of our truck. It was so strange because the front of it was much higher up than the back, larger than a wolf. Rhonda had never heard of the Michigan Dogman before that night, but after doing some research online and studying the descriptions, she confirmed that a dogman is what herself and her son had seen. The first ever sighting of the Michigan Dogman happened all the way back in 1887 and was a well-covered case in Wexford County. 2 lumberjacks were deep in the woods when they became aware of a large animal that appeared to be watching them. They finally saw the beast and later described it as having the body of a man, but the head of a wolf. Soon, reports began to come in from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where some farmers found their horses dead one morning and large dog-like tracks surrounding them. It was concluded that the horses died of fright. There have been many hundreds of sightings of the Michigan Dogman over the years, and most of the descriptions match. So the question is, just what is it? Native Americans in the area believe that the Dogman is the spirit of a Cheyenne warrior who was killed by the U.S. Army many years ago, and now its spirit roams the forests and swamplands. Some enthusiasts have argued that the sightings seem to appear in 10-year cycles, indicating that the beast has some kind of extreme hibernation patterns. The likely explanation, however, is that what people are seeing is an extremely large wolf or subspecies which has grown to unusual proportions. The average northwestern wolf stands 30 inches high and weighs 80 to 120 pounds, but they do grow bigger. In Eagle, Alaska, legendary hunter and trapper Frank Glazer caught an enormous 175-pound male in the summer of 1939. It still holds the record for the largest wolf ever caught in Alaska. The only species of bear that lives in Michigan are the black bear, which can stand on 2 legs for brief amounts of time, giving them a height of 7 feet tall, which is the supposed height of the Dogman. They are also powerfully built, and adult males weigh between 150 and 400 pounds. Many of the sightings are from people who spend time in the outdoors, however, and they already are familiar with wolves and bears, and claim to see another animal entirely. Like with many cryptid cases, unless a dogman is captured, found dead, or DNA evidence is taken and authenticated, we can never be entirely sure of what is out there. Have you ever seen the Michigan Dogman? If so, please describe your experience in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos.